Hi, welcome back to Christine's Home Affairs. I had a request just last night in one of the comments for a fillable travel pillow. So it wasn't on my list of things to do today, but I thought it's a cool idea. I've been traveling before, and I remember when I went on my honeymoon 30 odd years ago, we got to Fiji on an island with no shopping and we had no suitcases. The only thing my husband and I were able to purchase was a sarong. So for the next 3 days, we walked around with nothing but a sarong. So had we had travel pillows that were fillable back in those days, it would have been a lifesaver. So stick around and I'm going to show you how to make this fillable travel pillow. The first thing we want is a piece of paper that is big enough to draft our pattern on. You want a sheet that is at least 15 inches wide by 18. With the fold facing toward me, I'm going to mark from one side edge to the other 15 inches. So I'm doing a series of lines to begin with, and then we can create the curves. So I've got 15-inch line marked here from the outside edge. We've got the fold along here. At the fold, come in 8 inches. So I've just got from the corner to here is 8 inches. Then I'm going to create a couple of lines. The first one will be 3/4 of an inch from the fold. The next line I'm going to create is 1 1/4 inches from the fold. From the fold again, I'm going to come down 8 1/2 inches. That'll be the width of my pillow. Just make a mark across there. And from the fold again, we're going to come down 4 1/4 inches. From the outside edge, I'm going to come in 2 1/4 inches. So from the outside to this line is 2 1/4 inches. From this line here at 15 inches, we're going to come in 1 1/2 inches. So what you can see here is a whole bunch of lines that mean absolutely nothing. But wait, we'll get there. What we're going to do now is start making our curves from the corner to here. It's 8 inches. From this 8-inch line here, we want to come out 1 1/4 inches and 3 3/4 inches from here. So we've got 1 1/4 here and 3 3/4. So with all of these markings in place here, these are the points that are important. We've got this one here, this one, that. From the outside edge here at the 4 1/4 inch line, we're just going to come across 3/4 of an inch. From this line here, we'll mark at 2 inches, just from the 4 1/4 inch line straight down to 2 inches. And from that same line, come down 2 1/2 inches there. This is all our curve points. What we can do now, we've got our 8-inch mark just here to the 1 1/4 inch intersection. We're going to make a curve, and we're just going to do this freehand. And then we've got the next intersection here. We just want to make a slight curve over to there. The next curve will be at this intersection. Then we'll come down to the 15-inch intersection at that 4 1/4 inch line. So you can see this is starting to take shape. Then we've got our 2 1/2 inch mark there. In the middle of drawing this out for you, my camera fell on my head, so I've lost some of the footage. From here, we're going to continue on, draw this line all the way around, coming up to these markers that we've got here. I'll try and put this up on the screen so you can see exactly where to put all of your markings. Then you can follow everything along a little bit better than how this looks at the moment. I've drawn my line all the way around, come back to the start point here. I've shaped the edges a little bit better if they're a little bit pointy. Open your paper out, and this will be the shape of your neck pillow. Now don't be concerned that there's not much room behind here. You don't have to have a really skinny neck to be able to put this on. We've actually got a 1/2 inch seam allowance. It's going to open up an extra inch around here. If you are a little bit concerned, you can actually bring this in a little bit more on the neck curve. The zipper is going to go along the back edge here. Now the other thing that I've also done whilst after I've drawn this out is created a fold on the fabric. If I want to lay this pattern out on the fold of the fabric, I can just do that half side pattern. And if I want to open out the whole pattern, I've put a grain line in there, which means that I can line this up along the grain line of my fabric. So you can cut this 2 ways. Cut it on the fold of your fabric. You'll need to cut a back and a front for the main and a back and a front for the lining, or you can open it out and cut 2 single pieces for the main and 2 pieces for the lining, just on a single layer. Okay, we're ready to cut out our fabric. I'm going to use this really pretty toucan fabric. This is going to be the main body of my pillow. I'm using a printed canvas, so it's got a nice body to it. And on the lining, I'm just using a cotton floral fabric. I've got 2 layers of fabric for my lining, and I have 2 layers of fabric for the outer part of the cushion and my pattern. I can see the toucan through the fabric there, so I can actually fussy cut this to some extent. Seam allowance is already included in this pattern, so I can just pin this down and then I'll cut this out. The center point of the pattern is just here. I'm going to take a notch just out of the center there. I've got my notches marked out on the center there, and the center of our zip will be going in that position. So if you like, you can just fold the zipper in half, and we've marked a notch there as well. So then we can line that up nicely around our fabric. With a couple of pieces of scrap fabric, I want to cover my zipper ends. I'm going to trim that metal section off at the end there. I don't want that on my zip. And then I'm going to take my scrap piece of fabric, place that over the end of my zip, and I'm going to stitch that down on the end there, and then I can open out this little tab and my zipper will be enclosed. And I'll do the same for the opposite side. At this end where the slider is open, just open that out, trim back to the inside of the metal bars there, place the fabric with the printed side over the zip, the fold goes on the end there, pin that tab in place, and we'll stitch that closed as well. So I'll quickly take this to the machine and just stitch both ends of the zip. So the fabric's been stitched to the end of the zipper there, and when I close this, it's not going to go anywhere. So it's completely enclosed. With the raw edge here, just fold it over, same on the other side, bring the edges together, then you can stitch this closed just on the edge there. Doesn't matter about the raw edges on the side. And I'll do the same on this end, just fold the edge over, bring the folds together and stitch that down as well. Got my zip, my main fabric and my lining, and what I'm going to do now is place the zipper over the center point there. I'll line that up and I'm just going to pin that zip in place until I get to the end. I'll repeat that for the other half. Match the notch on the lining with the notch on the zipper and the main fabric and pin all 3 layers together. From the end of the zipper tab all the way across to the other end, I'm going to stitch that in place. I've got my zipper foot on and I'll just start stitching from the tab. Okay, I've stitched all the way around the curve, and what I need to do now, because we've got the curve, we need to make sure that when we turn this through, this is going to sit nice and flat. And to be able to make it sit nice and flat, we want to clip our curves. Just along the edge here, we're just going to snip every so often. We're going to clip just up to the stitching line, but not beyond it. So you can see that zip is sitting nicely in the curve there. Before I put the other side of the fabric on and the lining, I'm going to just go and top stitch this. I'm going to start top stitching on this side of the tab. So I don't want to top stitch over the tab area. I'm going to start at the end of the zipper there and top stitch along there up to the end of the zip there. I won't go over the tab. Both layers of fabric away from the zip. Okay, with that top stitched, I'm now going to put the fabric on the other side. I'll match up the notch with the lining and the main fabric and put the other side of the zip in. I've pinned the other side of the zip to the main body and the lining. I'm ready to now close that up. Finish clipping the curve along the edge where the zip has been put in. Turn it right way around and we'll top stitch that side as well. It might be a little bit easier to top stitch it with it open. And again, I'm going to start stitching at the end of the zip, not at the end of the tab. Okay, that's the back end of our travel pillow finished. Now we need to put the lining and the main fabric together. Take the main parts of your bag, pull them away from the lining, and we're going to start pinning or clipping this in place. We'll line up all the edges and we need to stitch all the way around, but we also need to leave an opening to be able to turn this through. We'll leave the opening in the lining For now, I'm going to clip this all the way around. Okay, the most important thing we need to do here is make sure the zip is open on the inside. Now, I know I've left it closed, so I'm just going to duck in there and open the zip. So you want to make sure that you remember to have that zipper open before you start stitching this closed. Otherwise, you're not going to have much fun getting it open. I'm going to take this to the machine. I'm going to start at the corner of the zipper tab here. I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around, but I'm going to probably start off with a 1/4 inch just at the edge where the zipper tab is. I'm going to start sewing just next to the end of the zipper tab. I think there's too much bulk here, and because I don't know what I'm doing just yet, I'm going to just start sewing right next to that. And I'll do a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. When I get to the end of the main part of the bag, I'm stitching just up to the tab because there's a lot of bulk there and I can't seem to go any further, and then I'll stitch off to the side. I'm going to do the same at the lining. Start at the side, stitch in a bit, and then continue all the way around. You might think that I had forgotten to leave an opening for turning through. I haven't. Because curves can be quite difficult to work with at times, I'm going to continue stitching all the way to the end. But as I come around the outside curve just before I meet the zip, I'm going to do a back stitch here. And then I'm going to continue sewing So I've continued sewing for about 3 inches or so, back stitch again, and then I'm going to continue on to the end, to the zipper tab, and then stitch off. First of all, I'm going to clip the curves all the way around the entire pillow. Once I've done that, I'm going to press the seams open where I've done the back stitch at the beginning and the end there before I open this out. And then that will create a nice fold line that's not going to be distorted as a result of the curves. So I'll clip the curves all the way around. So I've clipped the curves all the way around. In between back stitching, I'm going to press these seams in or open. I've just finger pressed the seam open at the section where I'm going to open this up again. I take my seam ripper next to the double stitching and I have my opening here to turn everything through. Run your hand in along the seams on the inside, and you only need to do that on the outside part, and make those curves nice and smooth. And when you're happy with that, then we can close up the lining. So the fold that we created earlier is going to make it easier for you to stitch that down on the actual fold. Then everything's finished and we can fill it up with our clothes. Well, there you go. Travel pillow with a difference. I've gone and pressed this because of the curves. It really needed to have a really good press. Before I closed this up, I should have actually trimmed all of that fabric on the inside because there's quite a bit of bulk with a 1/2 inch seam. So if you're making this, go and trim that clipped fabric really close to your stitching line and it will sit a lot better. It's been pressed. There's the zipper at the top there, fully lined, and plenty of room to stuff some clothes. Or you can just stuff all your excess fabric in here too. Wasn't what I had in mind to do when I woke up this morning, but I think this has come up all right. And at least the next time I go travelling, I'm going to have some spare little bits and pieces in here. I'll be safe in the knowledge, knowing that I'll at least have a change of underwear with me. Well, what did you think? It's an easy project to do. I've not made one of these before, and I really didn't know what I was doing to begin with. I think this is a brilliant idea. Thank you so much to Bio Wellness Lifestyle for asking about this. I hope it's what you wanted. I did get the idea of a YouTube channel today, somebody that has made this pillow. They actually have a PDF for the pattern on their website. I don't remember what their name is. I apologise for that, but I'll pop a link in the comments down below to the original creator of this travel pillow. I've just changed it up and put a zipper in the top, and you can stuff this full of clothing. Here's my cardigan. just in case I get cold. There's actually quite a lot of room in here for you to put your socks and underwear and just some lightweight clothing and things like that. Roll them up. You can still actually use this as a pillow to help you sleep when you're on your flight. It's a great way to get some extra luggage onto your flight without actually having to pay for the excess. So that's a pretty cool idea. So that was a fun project to make. It's a really quick one. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I shall catch you next time.